Cape York. Things you must know for doing a trip to the tip. Are we glad we did Cape York?
Yes, we are.
Absolutely. Would we do Cape York again? Absolutely not. Seen some really stupid things though on the road. Wow.
And now I feel sick in the stomach.
I'm not confident I can take our motorhome through that. That looks like a full drive track in there to me. Most people don't understand just how difficult it is to get to that part of Australia. Cape York, a car or a four-wheel drive or a motorcycle, people don't really realise the preparation involved and just how hard it is to get to that part of the country. So in this video we're going to discuss 12 tips you will absolutely need to know before you even think about going to Cape York. Look, I'm pleased we went and visited that part of Australia.
Me too.
Because we're all about travelling around Australia in our motorhome. But there's things that we did know before we left, and there's things that we wish we had known before we took off.
Everybody does their research, especially going to areas like this. So there's specific things you need to research and look up.
Yeah. Now, you got on a Facebook group during our research phase before we went. What was that called?
It was called To the Cape York and Back. And it was really, really helpful. There's a administrator there that answers all of your questions and anything that you're unsure about. And a lot of people get on there, and a lot of people reached out to us through that particular Facebook page as well. So we found a lot of value in it.
And information is traveller specific. Like, we hadn't met anyone yet we spoke to a lot of people that had done the trip in caravans and motorcycles. We hadn't met anyone yet that had done it in a motorhome or attempted to. No.
Whiz bangs, yes, that sort of motoring van, but not a traditional motorhome like ours.
Big chunky motorhome.
And we had some strange looks, let me tell you.
I'm not saying we're pioneers by any stretch of the imagination. People have, let's face it, roamed the world in all sorts of contraptions. But we just couldn't find any information on travelling to the Cape York tip in a motorhome.
Yeah, not for us, like, we were specific to a motorhome, and we couldn't, there's plenty of videos out there, like Shannon said, but specific to our needs, there wasn't a lot, so we thought we would put together the information that we found and that we come across and that we learnt along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. We weren't even sure it could be done.
No, we weren't. We had our fingers crossed. We held our breath a couple of times, but at the end of the day, we knew that if we just took our time, then we'd have no problem.
People thought we were mad taking a 30-year-old two-wheel drive motorhome up to the tip.
Our first night, we had some strange looks from
an
elderly couple. There was 4 of them.
Yeah, they weren't grey nomads. They were kind of a bit older than, not much older than us, but they had the proper gear.
In between us and grey nomads, I would say. But our first night, we'd stopped at Han River Roadhouse, and we hadn't even checked in yet. And do you remember the first thing that bloke said to me? I come running back to the motorhome and said, "Shannon, that bloke out there come up to me and says, 'You're not going up to the tip in that, are you?'" And I
Yeah,
thought,
we are.
I thought, oh God, we're just about to head off.
Because I'll come back down.
They were.
They knew what we were in for.
And they had actually parked their van up at Han River Roadhouse and continued on in a rooftop camper and tents.
Left the van.
Yeah, and left the van behind because they just thought it was going to be too harsh on their van. So right at that point, I thought, oh, holy moly, are we actually doing the right thing? So I come racing back to Shannon. He went, right, where is that group of people? We're going to go and have a chat to them tonight.
Yeah.
And we did.
They had me rattled.
Yeah.
Rattled, get it? Ha! Rattled. Lots of rattles.
Still with the dad jokes.
And even en route to the tip, we got a lot of people over the CB radio. We could hear the chatter to and from other four drivers and even to us. And comments on that Facebook page you mentioned in the ensuing days when we were in Cape York.
Yeah, because we were
Who's the mob in the motorhome?
Yeah, because we were so unique, I suppose, up there. We were easily recognisable, and we had people sending us comments saying, oh, I just saw you at Bamaga in the supermarket. And then they'd drive past a day later and give us a toot, and we're like, oh, who's that? No idea. But yeah, so a few people reached out to us through that group because we were so odd looking, I guess, in that region. Yeah.
And then there's the motorhome.
Well... Referring to him, not us. Not me or the girls.
Can't get a break here, guys. But at the end of the day, never underestimate old Trusty. Don't be fooled. We put a lot of money and a lot of time and our investment into Winnie, which sits on a good old tough as a box of rusty nails Isuzu truck. Just a 4-cylinder diesel, no technology. We spent considerable money raising the suspension. We got the heaviest duty
that we could
suspension all round. It was raised a couple of inches. Truck gas shocks, recovery boards, a 10,000 kilo recovery rope, long shovel. At the best ARB $1,000 compressor we could buy,
so we could air down
twin tanks, twin carbies, the whole bit on this compressor. Yeah, so we could air down tyres, off-road tyres, the heaviest tyres we could buy.
So you got to remember, for those of you that have been following us for a little while, we initially were only preparing to do Cape York.
Just as a trip,
yeah, just as a trip, and that morphed into, well, hey, let's do our second lap. So the van was being prepped ultimately to do Cape York, not necessarily for a second lap, but that's how it unfolded. So Shannon had put a lot of research into prepping our van for that specific location.
Did I always have confidence that we would reach the tip? Yes. I'm not going to be aloof about it. Yes, I had all the confidence that we'd get there. The only thing that I thought would snag us is river crossings, because you're really pushing a two-wheel drive motorhome into four-wheel drive territory there, and you've got your family on board.
We're heavy.
It's the unknown, and let me tell you guys, you don't want to cause a recovery up at the tip, because just to get a four-wheel drive out of Cape York is $4,000 for a tilt tray.
Let alone a motorhome.
So what's a 4.5 ton motorhome? I don't know. So look at the risk, but hey, life's a risk, and it's a calculated risk, and we only had one creek crossing that, I was going to say worried me. It didn't worry me, but we had to...
Worrying us girls, that's for sure. The girls and I, we were freaking out. And if you go back and have a look at that video that we did, yeah, we were just quietly freaking out. Especially when we were watching other cars go through it.
We had to watch first.
Yeah, always. A smart thing to do is watch the lines of the other cars that are taking it. But then you've got to remember, well, we're not a car, we're a motorhome.
Yeah.
You know, we lean differently, we're top heavy.
Yeah.
So for us and the girls, it was quite scary. Whether Shannon was a little bit more nervous than he let on in deep down, I don't know. But for us girls, yeah, he always had confidence in the old trusty motorhome.
Well, I wouldn't have bought this motorhome on day one and tried that. It's just that we'd done lap one, we'd taken this motorhome off-road a fair bit.
Capable of.
We've had it bogged, we've got it in very precarious situations before.
I mean, we did have, back at that first stop at Han River Roadhouse, we had our first minor issue, and that was that our Four Seasons hatch, the flap had blown off or broken off or something, so Shannon had to actually tape down, silicone and tape down our hatch for the whole trip. But
people out there going, a hatch? I blew my motor going to Cape York.
True. But that was our initial thought, you know, when that happened on the first night. But no no big issues whatsoever.
Now, as I said, there's a bunch of questions people like to ask us to this day about Cape York. So we've put together the top 12 questions, and we're going to rattle through them in rapid succession, so you can plan your trip. Question number 1, what vehicle? Okay, so here it is. You don't need a 4-wheel drive to get to the tip of Cape York. You just need a vehicle with 4-wheel drive clearance. And a vehicle that's fairly robust also.
That's right. I mean, at the end of the day, you can get up to the tip in a car. Whether that car's in one piece at the end is another story. But we did pass a car around the Weipa area. They were starting to head north, and the Facebook group that I followed and mentioned earlier, they'll say to you that you can get up there in a car. But it all depends on the season, what time of season, how bad the road is, and, you know, whether there's water on the ground, whether you would go ahead in a car. But like Shannon says, clearance is the main thing.
Number 2, fuel stops. All right, we're not Leyland Brothers in an old combi.
Get out your money.
Yeah, you need to plan ahead and for fuel. Straight up, I can tell you where there's none. That's the easiest. Jardine River Ferry. There is no fuel being petrol or diesel at the Jardine River Ferry, and there hasn't been for years.
That's right. The fuel maps say that you can get fuel there, but when you get there, you see that they just haven't run out this past weekend. It's been like it for months, even years, that they haven't had fuel there, so don't count on getting fuel there at all.
And that can change. And what we're telling you today with fuel stops can change. Some shut, some reopen. It's just that part of the country.
Rule of thumb is, just like when you're crossing the Nullarbor, is that when you pass a roadhouse or a fuel stop, you just top up
and ask people,
if you don't need it.
Mate, was there fuel back at whatever roadhouse?
Wherever you've come from,
and vice versa, you let them know when you're coming back down. So the fuel stops we found this time last year was Cooktown, Musgrave Roadhouse, Archer River Roadhouse, Branwell Junction Roadhouse, Bamaga, Weipa.
Yes.
They're the fuel stops. Okay.
And I was going to say cost of fuel.
I was going to say,
Yeah, cost of fuel
per litre.
For us, the worst was $2.95. On average, I think it was anywhere between $2.80, $2.90, but the worst was $2.95.
This for diesel.
Can't remember if it reached the $3 mark on our return.
I don't remember seeing $3. But
this was over the space of the 2 weeks that we took to travel up there.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more expensive than your towns around the country.
Yeah. Number 3, a CB radio.
Breaker.
Yep. Now, people are annoyed by CBs, but if you're doing the trip to the tip, you must carry a CB radio and have one fitted to your truck or your car. What's the best CB? There's many. But my attitude is a cheap CB is better than no CB.
That's right. And you've got to remember that internet service up there, whilst we had it, for the most part, there is locations where we didn't have anything with our Telstra SIM. So you're going to want to have some sort of communication device to get in contact if you should break down. And
people say, why? We're not convoying with friends, we're just on our own. You must have a CB to be contactable and be able to communicate with anyone else on the road around you. And that could be anything, ranging from warning someone, hey mate, in the Land Cruiser in front of me, you've just lost something, something's come off your trailer, or mate, you got a flat tyre.
We actually did have someone contact us.
Contact us about something.
Remember they'd lost something, but they end up finding it.
A shock, a suspension.
Yeah, that's it. So.
People can warn you up ahead. Guys, there's someone pulled over in the middle of the road, there's dust everywhere, visibility is very poor, caution on approach, and things like that. You could ask, what's the river crossing like coming up? Mate, and there's warnings out, there's a tilt tray tow truck coming through, looking for a broken down car, has anyone seen him? And that you can communicate with the tow truck guy. I could keep going, but they're a must for safety, convenience, marriage saver, everything. Having a couple of CB radios in your car. And speaking of safety, headlights. I know you're driving through the day, you must keep your headlights on low beam. for safety, and it's because of the red dust up there.
It's huge. The dust clouds, you can't see through it. It's thick, and the reason it's very important is because a lot of people follow the smooth surface of the road, so they'll veer to the middle of the road, sometimes on the wrong side of the road, to get past a particular area. And if you're going through a dust storm, I mean, ultimately you try not to be on the wrong side of the road when there's dust coming through, but headlights, lifesaver.
It's like talcum powder, that red dust, that bull dust up there. It's so fine. So yeah, it really restricts your visibility down to poor.
Number 5, places to stay. We are all for free camping, and we did that where possible. However, going up to the Cape, it's really nice to stay at the roadhouses along the way. Whilst we did free camp, we free camped on the Cowan River going up and back, and it was beautiful. You could swim in the river, have a campfire there. There was other people around. It was really beautiful. But to stay at the stations, it was quite cool. It was different. You'd meet up with people that have, you know, just done the hard yards that day as well, people that are repairing their vehicles. There was entertainment at some of them as well. You get fuel there, and you could get bits and pieces like frozen bread, you know, some food supplies. But the stations were quite cool, weren't they? And some were different.
And do you know, the mentality and the sense of community is better the smaller and the more remote you go. And I know we've alluded to this in many videos before, but, you know, buying a loaf of frozen bread, as you said, and just mingling with people that are taking on this extremely challenging trip. Let's face it, the community's smaller and closer. You go to your common caravan parks not far out of cities, and people will eyeball you because...
keep to themselves, don't speak to you, don't say g'day.
The eyeball you because you've got a guy rope from your awning going onto their square patch of grass or something. That's all forgotten about the further into the remoteness you go. You really rely on your fellow traveller if you're broken down, just for company. Yeah,
just for company. And people would say, oh, how'd you go today? How far did you come? And, you know, to strike any trouble, or did you see that up the road? Yeah. And it was cool, especially because you do feel isolated in the remote areas that you go to. And when, you know, for us, we went slow, so the corrugations are quite nasty. So to actually get out and, you know, socialise and catch up with a fellow traveller was pretty cool, wasn't it?
It was fantastic.
And then we found that we, every couple of days, we might, you know, miss a camp spot here or there, and then we'd meet up with someone that we'd met, you know, several days ago or last week. So that was always fun as well.
Yeah. So jot these down, all the places to stay: Hahn River Roadhouse, Cowan Bend Campsite, Moreton Telegraph Station, Fruitbat Falls, although there's only room for about 3 or 4 campers in there, Allow Beach Campground, Bramwell Station, Weeper Caravan Park, and I hope I say this right, Maluna Station.
Yeah, Maluna Station.
So jot those down, guys.
That's where we stayed. There's even more, you know, there's places along Chili Beach and there's other free camp spots once you sort of get through the Jardine River ferry that were on the coast as well. There's plenty, honestly. There's more than what we've just mentioned, but we've mentioned the ones where we stayed and found it, really good.
And not ring ahead, research ahead, because things shut, things reopen.
Actually, on that, Bramwell Station, when we were on our way up, there'd been a car rally and they were going through, and apparently they were quite busy in the 1 or 2 days prior to us getting there.
Right.
So, it's handy to ring ahead and see if there's any big groups travelling through like that.
Yeah. Number 6, Tucker. Where do you get your food?
Yeah, where do you stock up?
All right.
Ultimately, before you even head up there, Cairns is your last big city to stock up. If you're going the coastal way up to Port Douglas, there is a Coles there as well, but Cairns is the big one because you can go a couple of different ways up to the tip from Cairns, and you know, your Coles, Woolies, Aldi, I think. Can't remember. Maybe not Aldi at Cairns.
Once you're committed and once you're up there, just try and top up on food because it's very, very expensive. We found food at Bamaga. It's an Ibis supermarket.
Yes, it was quite a big supermarket, but more pricey than back in the normal towns.
There's a Woolworths at Weeper, so a major mining town, Weeper.
And they were actually on par with Cairns prices, to be honest.
Woolies Weeper was.
It was.
It's just like a Woolworths. And all the roadhouses do meals. The roadhouses, it's expensive, especially when you're travelling as a family. Oh boy. stock up on food. You can stick food in all your cupboards, every nook and cranny in your caravan and motorhome. Look, you really need, how long did it take us? Cooktown and then back 2 weeks.
It took us 2 weeks. And I think most people even, I mean, we were slow and we took 2 weeks, but then we didn't go off the beaten track either. So people that were quicker than us had time to go off the beaten track. But I think on average, most people tend to spend about 2 weeks. I think we'd read 10-day round trip from Cairns. But yeah, we took the 2 weeks.
Number 7, it's a bit obvious. Carry full loads of fresh water, because we say 2 weeks, you could break down and get stuck.
True.
There are places to get water.
There is.
Look, just for your own convenience, carry loads of fresh water.
And top up where you can.
Yeah.
Even if it's you're staying at a roadhouse, you use their shower facilities and things like that to save the water in your tanks.
That's right. Yeah. Number 8.
I think this is obvious, but
everyone talks about this in far north Queensland, Northern Territory, WA. Be Croc safe. Guys, be Croc safe. You will be up there in what would be winter months in Sydney, but it's
hot.
It's still hot up in those northern regions, even in June, July.
It's tempting to go swimming.
You will swim, and there's freshwater swimming, and we had some of the best swimming on our trips.
We did.
In Fruitbat Falls, but about a week or so after we swam in Fruitbat Falls, there was a
croc
salty,
upstream.
a croc found in there. Salty, not a freshie. Look, they're prehistoric animals. They're amphibious. I've read recently that a full-size adult croc can walk as far as 10 kilometres to move from estuaries to estuaries and rivers to rivers. I think that's accurate. Anyway, they get around, so just be croc safe, and maybe swim where there's lots of other people.
Always swim where there's lots of other people.
Now, tools, spare parts, and mechanical ability.
Make sure you're married to MacGyver.
Well, I was going to say, especially if you're doing something in a vehicle that's old, don't take this on if you don't have some sort of level of mechanical ability.
Even if your vehicle's old, because things happen, things
the
break.
dude that broke his axle in a brand new Wild Track, I think.
If he had no idea, he'd be in the hands of NRMA Road Service.
That was pretty cool.
RACQ up there.
Our neighbours at Allow Beach Caravan Park, wasn't it? They spent 2 or 3 days getting a new axle flowing in from Cairns, I think.
From day to night, working
on this car,
tap,
and that was a brand new car.
Yeah.
But look, some things happen that even if you're some sort of mechanical extraordinaire, things break and you can't do anything about it. But know your vehicle, have the right tools to be able to fix it, know how to fix it, and
spares. I mean, how do you know what spares of things to take? But you being mechanically minded, you'd have an idea on what could potentially go when you're going into areas like that. And again, researching, if you're planning on doing the telegraph track and you know that it's quite rigid and humpy-bumpy, then I suppose you're going to make sure that you got spare.
Well, I guess to start off with, good tyres, good spare tyres, recovery gear, be it recovery boards, a snatch strap, tow rope, basic tools, your socket sets, your emergency equipment like your zip ties, wire, and stuff to fix your actual truck or your vehicle, and then stuff to fix your RV, like your living quarters. Because, what a pain in the ass. If something breaks and it was simple and you could have fixed it had you had the tools. But remember, I spoke about that community again, that sense of community. If you can't fix it or you haven't got the tools to fix it, guys, there's always someone you can approach at the campgrounds.
That's right. I remember even on that Facebook group seeing many posts on I'm stuck at Weeper and I need, an axle or like quite decent parts bought up from Cairns and their delivery isn't for another week or two. Is there anybody that's possibly coming up this way that could bring it up?
That's right.
And people reached out and people actually helped him out. And there seems to be a lot of that going on. So like Shannon says, it's quite a good community, especially when you're in more remote areas, because people don't want to get stranded themselves, or at least would like the favour returned if they were stuck somewhere. So.
For sure. Yeah, no one's just going to leave you stranded, guys, that's for sure.
No.
We've met people with a flat tire, haven't we?
We have.
Number 10, touching the sign.
Yeah, that's what everyone's there for.
Look, it's only a sign, say, yay big, a stainless steel steel plaque like that. In a word, you might describe it as underwhelming, the sign I'm talking. But it hasn't got to be some massive, in neon lights, monumental sign. It's what it depicts. It's what it denotes, and you made it.
And even getting to that tip, even from when you park your car in the little parking area that's there, even to get to it, depending on the tide, you can walk around the water, or you've got to like climb up and over some rocks. Like even that's quite, not a challenge, I would say, but an adventure. That's what it is. And people have to realise, don't touch that sign. It keeps getting vandalised, and it's ridiculous. People putting bullet holes into it, and people have gone a long way to get up there to touch that sign and have their family photo as an achievement, and there it is with bullet holes behind it. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's just bugger off, and
it gets stolen. It gets cut off and knocked off.
It's just ridiculous. They'll soon ban us from going there if people continue to do that. So keep your mitts off, people.
Yeah.
Hey Shane, we made it.
Number 11, best time of year.
Best time of year to go.
You got to avoid the heat. You got to avoid the wet season.
Wet season mainly.
Yep.
That's what you got to avoid, because wet season means the roads are cut off and you can't get there.
And the heat. Remember what happened to us at Northern Territory?
It did. But
So
people
hot.
still go there in the heat. It's when the roads are cut off that it's a big no-no. So depending on how late the wet season has lasted, the rule of thumb is between May and September each year. So the year we went, it was pretty good. I think it had reopened around April, and then it depends on I think it's the council that goes through and grades the road to make it nice and smooth, and if you can get in any of those first early weeks, then it's a much nicer trip versus to when we went in September and it was quite corrugated.
And just on that, corrugations of the roads, they're the months you go, and if you can, try and avoid school holidays or the period just after the school holidays, because the roads are absolutely decimated.
We've read and heard stories of being like traffic, not necessarily traffic jams, but queues of traffic just heading up there, and it just becomes chaos, and nobody wants to go into remote areas and be packed out with people. But you go when you can ultimately. But as we found, the time of year to go is May to September.
Yeah, and I say avoid the school holidays or the period following the school holidays, because they're yet to regrade the roads. They've got to get graders through there. Otherwise, the corrugations are so tall, I heard lizards lay beside them to get shade. That's how tall the corrugations of the road are.
Shannon actually did a close-up of our wheel going over the corrugations in one of our movies, because just to try and capture, because when you're sort of just filming out the windscreen, it doesn't quite show you how deep the corrugations are. It's quite treacherous on your vehicle.
Just tears your car apart.
It does.
Number 12, last one.
Which way to go? That way.
How do you get there? Well, there's two ways. There is the original road, and you've probably heard it called the old telegraph track, and it's exactly what it is. When they were putting communication lines in between, I suppose, Cooktown and right up to the Cape, I don't know, probably in the 30s and 40s during the war, it was called the old telegraph track. Today, the old telegraph track is not a publicly maintained road. It's just left to wither. So the new road is the PDR, the Peninsula Development Road. Now, parts of the Peninsula Development Road are sealed, so they're bitumen. Most of it is not.
You'll be driving for hours on corrugations dirt road, and then all of a sudden there'll be 10 kilometres of bitumen. You think, oh, thank God, woohoo! And that 10Ks just goes that fast, and then you're back on it again. And it's just funny how in the middle of nowhere there's just these random several kilometres worth of bitumen, and then as quick as it came, it's gone.
And then when it comes back again, we got out of the truck and worshipped the bitumen and kissed the road, literally.
I said, oh my God, this is it. And I said, stop the truck. And I jumped out and I kissed the road because, oh my goodness, 2 weeks of corrugations.
Yeah, it does. It eventually breaks you. Yeah, mentally, it does.
Yeah, when you get to the tip, it's such an achievement that you've actually got there, but then you remind yourself that you've got to turn around and come back from where you just came from.
And do it all again.
Yeah.
So, look, all all the hardcore four-wheel drive fanatics and all the
They love it.
off-roaders, they do the old telegraph track, but because, what I just said, it's not a maintained public road, it's getting ruttier and rougher.
The ruts and
by the year.
some of the cars are on the side. I mean, quite exciting if you're into full driving and that type of driving, but not for me, and certainly not in this motorhome.
If you look at a lot of YouTubers out there that
Yeah.
are doing this off-road extreme telegraph track driving, it breaks a lot of four-wheel drives and breaks a lot of hearts. And like I said, $4,000 for a tilt tray to get back to Cooktown, guys. So have your wits about you. I've had a mate that did the old telegraph track 10 years ago, and it's worse now. And they had a four-wheel drive fully submerged, a brand new Nissan Patrol, fully submerged in one of the creek crossings. It was just deeper than what they expected, and his rubber thongs floated out of the driver's window. So my mate had to get a tow rope off another four-wheel drive and wade chest deep into the water where there's known to be crocs to hook up to his recovery hook and drag this Nissan Patrol out of the river, which was then subsequently written off, statutory written off in Cairns. So some people call that fun. Not for me. Look, but don't kid yourself, Peninsula Development Road isn't great either.
There was parts of it that was quite savage. So doing the detour to Weipa on our return, still corrugated, but not as bad as a certain section of the PDR. So it was, a long way out of our way to avoid this particularly bad section at the time we went up. But then it enabled us to go to somewhere that we hadn't been, and that was Weipa. So
yeah. There's a motorbike crew called Cape York Motorcycle Tours, and they run out of Cairns. I applied for a job with them actually, but I was unsuccessful. And they take groups of motorcyclists up there. I think they're on Suzuki DR 450s or something, I think. Like 20 of them. They do the old telegraph track. And some of you can't call them bridges, but some of the fallen logs over the rivers, some of them are 2 or 3 blokes carrying the bikes across. So that's the type of extreme adventure you're talking. But no, I think we did pretty good.
we did.
In an old motorhome.
We made it.
There.
That's for sure, and that's what we wanted to do. We made it.
Yeah.
We didn't break anything. We had the clutch issue, but that was much after.
We did.
Much after we'd finished Cape York. So
That's right.
we survived and we managed to get up there. So if you were wanting to do something similar to what we did, say in a caravan, you can do it.
And we did. Lisa's right. We did a clutch. Now, when I say we did the clutch, we burnt the clutch out not because of Cape York. We burnt our clutch out during Cape York. Now, it's a 30-year-old truck, guys. It's done 300 at that time at least. It had done 380,000 Ks. 30-year-old truck, and let's face it, they work hard. An old truck clutch, and so we swapped him out. Pretty basic job, really, if you're pretty handy on the spanners.
It was about a week or two. About a week after we'd finished Cape York.
Yeah, we pulled in at the Walkabout Creek Hotel in Outback Queensland, had the parts shipped there. I think a brand new clutch for the whole kit. The whole swap out was $380. My motorbike clutch would be dearer than that. But so it's pretty old girl, pretty cheap to work on. And we're on our way. We finished the rest of our lap for the year, and so that was about the only drama we had, really.
We didn't really have any dramas, thankfully, which was good.
Yeah. So, closing thoughts. There you go, guys. Be prepared. Do your research. It's all doable.
Enjoy it.
It is fun. Yeah. Once you're all prepared, and it's something you'll never forget. And I said at the start of the video, I'm so happy and proud of us, really. We did it.
For sure.
Would we do it again?
No.
And you know why?
I wouldn't.
And I don't want that to come across as negative.
No.
I only say we wouldn't do it because we've done it. And it's not like a exotic beach location where you can keep taking your family back every Christmas,
and you go
year
back
after
because
year.
you enjoy it.
No, it's not like that.
No, because it's hard work.
It is.
It's a lot of hard work, and you do risk breaking things. So, for us, we've done it. It's an achievement.
A challenge,
and we try to look for new destinations and new achievements and new challenges from then on. So for us, no.
It's the do it once thing. It's like back when you can climb Uluru. I did that for my 40th. Would I want to do it again? No, I've done it. It's not something you just go to every year and do.
Although I do like Uluru.
But I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Drop a comment below. We're also got a link in our description the 3-part series of Cape York, about Cape York movies we did. Click on them, have a look. I'm sure you'll pick up a few more hints out of it.
If you've got any questions, let us know.
Yeah, and Lise can answer them. See you guys next time.
See you later.
I've met Sean. He's given the Cape a go. Thoughts on the trip, mate?
Hey, Sharon, nice to catch up with you yesterday, and it's a great spot here, and we're looking to get up to the tip at Cape York and have a bit of fun. It's a really nice part of the world.